All right, everybody, this is the Fantasy Sports Boss. Welcome to the Fantasy Sports Boss Fantasy Football Podcast. It is July 24th, 2023, just about another week away until August. Amazing how quick the summer goes. And, of course, NFL training camps are opening up en masse this week. So a lot of good stuff to talk about coming up in the next couple of days for sure. So if you haven't subscribed already to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, also hit the like button because that really helps out the channel as well. So please do all of that. So couple of things. So I did a short podcast this morning on my drive into work, and plus I'm doing this podcast now 5 Eastern time today. I'm doing a live stream, so make sure you jump on for that. So that live stream is going to be more for your advantage in terms of asking me questions and things like that. Plus I'm going to reveal my running backs that you should avoid at cost, plus the running backs I think you should buy instead around that same price tag. So I've done that already with the quarterbacks, receivers, and the tight ends. So if you want to find those videos, make sure you go back and look. But today wanted to discuss some of the things that are going on in the fantasy football world before I delve into a mock draft that I did today, which I thought you would find it interesting. But so really the big thing is that the big news of the day, for that matter, well, there's 2 items. One is Nyheim Hines. I mean, that was just a crazy story. So apparently he was hit while he was on a jet ski, some crazy story like that, and suffered some significant knee damage, a knee injury, whatever, and he's going to be out for the season. So I'm going to talk more about this during the live stream later on today. How does this affect James Cook? How does this affect the running back situation there? Overall, Damian Harris, who was brought in. So I'm going to discuss, I'll save a little bit of that for later on today, along with some of the other news of the day. But another thing I really wanted to touch on is Kadarius Toney. So Adam Schefter spoke today about Kadarius Toney. He's going to miss some time during training camp after aggravating an old knee injury, okay? So according to Schefter, he underwent an offseason cleanup on the knee, but re-aggravated on Sunday. He'll miss a portion of training camp. Expected to be ready for the start of the season. So listen, I've been on record many times over that as intriguing as Kadarius Toney is, and this is coming from a Giant fan, I have my Mets shirt on, I'm from New York, so I witnessed this up close. Kadarius Toney is like the biggest enigma in football. I mean, he's got tremendous explosive ability. Anybody who witnessed that game against the Dallas Cowboys a couple of years ago when he was with the Giants and when he went for over 180 yards, the guy's just insanely talented and insanely explosive, but he just can't stay on the field. And here's the thing, you got to start to wonder, I used to make jokes that maybe he just doesn't simply drink enough water, but maybe that explosiveness, that insane stop-start ability that he had, his joints and his muscles just can't keep up. And, he's not the biggest guy in the world either. He's very slight in frame. So perhaps that's the reason that Toney keeps getting hurt. It's just ridiculous. But my first true hedge prediction of the season, I have my guys that I believe in as far as sleepers all year. Richie James, guys, I'm telling you, Richie James is going to be a thing. Everyone's chasing Sky Moore. Everybody's chasing Kadarius Toney. Everybody's chasing Rashee Rice. Pick up Richie James at the end of your draft. He's virtually free, and he caught over 50 passes on a horrible Giants passing offense last season. So this guy knows how to get open. He can probably operate in the slot from day one. He's proven himself, unlike Sky Moore, unlike Kadarius Toney. So Richie James, and he caught the majority, I believe 80% plus of the passes thrown his way, Richie James was able to catch. So Richie James is somebody that you just have to look at. You have to be aware of late in your draft, so you're just missing the boat on this. Another thing today, Robert Saleh, Breece Hall looks really good. Ran 23 miles per hour on the GPS. That I have a little need to rush him back to the field. All right, so it's still a measured approach according to Robert Saleh in terms of how they're going to handle Breece Hall to start the season. Listen, Javonte Williams, that was definitely surprising yesterday for me, and I kind of lumped the two in together because they're both coming off torn ACLs. Williams' injury was much more severe. He had 3 tears. Hall had 1 tear plus a little bit of meniscus damage, but it looks like Williams might actually be ahead of Hall's pace in the recovery, despite Hall running really well. And the Jets are being very conservative, and that's why they're still kicking the tires on Dalvin Cook. Although the news that came out recently about Dalvin Cook certainly doesn't help his cause about, the the domestic issue that he was dealing with that, really hasn't gotten as much attention as I thought it would. But, Javonte Williams, that he's now looks like he's going to be ready for week 1. Are the Jets going to do this with Breece Hall? I don't know. They don't need him now, obviously, as desperately as they once did, because they have Aaron Rodgers now piloting the offense. They have Garrett Wilson, who's ready to take the top off the NFL. Michael Carter is, and Zonovan Knight, the two of them can carry the load, maybe even the kid from Pittsburgh, Abanikanda, but I still get the sense that Breece Hall is not really going to be a full-on starter until, week 3, maybe week 4, barring them not signing Dalvin Cook. So we're just going to have to wait and see about that. Now, this brings me into what I wanted to talk about today during this podcast. So I was bored today just thinking about fantasy football because, what else would I be thinking about, right? And by the way, guys, make sure you keep hitting that subscribe button. We've got some good growth the last 2 weeks, so I appreciate that. And if you haven't gotten my fantasy football draft guide, make sure you do that as well. It's available on Amazon. So I started thinking today. I've been reading stats about, obviously you know how I feel about Travis Kelce, but I've been reading a lot of stats about the big 3 quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Really, all 3 of them are interchangeable. I've seen all 3 ranked in every combination possible across the fantasy football spectrum, and I have no issue with whatever order you want to rank them in. As a matter of fact, Jalen Hurts on a per-game basis was better than Mahomes and Allen last season. Now, of course, Mahomes doesn't have a great supporting cast this season, even worse than last year, which wasn't great. Jalen Hurts is a slight quarterback who got injured last season. You have to worry about that with all the running he does. And then Josh Allen, is he going to run less? That's the talk again this season. I'll believe it when I see it. But I started thinking to myself, and these 3 guys are, there's quite a bit of a gap between them and like the 4th, 5th, and 6th highest scoring quarterbacks from last season. Really, that next tier is Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and then you have Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. And Justin Herbert. You really got to end up with one of those guys in drafts this season. But anyway, so I started to think, well, what if I used my first 2 picks in a draft on tight end and then quarterback? Or at least 2 of the first 3. So I signed up for a mock draft today, and I made sure I got the 4th pick. That way, CMC, Jefferson, and Chase I know will be gone, and I can get Travis Kelce at number 4 overall, which is how I would do it in a real draft. I mean, I still think I would take McCaffrey over Kelce, but that's about it. I'm not taking anybody else. So at the 4th spot, I signed up with the plan to take a quarterback in round 2 unless a really good receiver dropped. So I'm going to share with you guys how it went. So obviously in the first round, it went just as I suspected, Jefferson, Chase, and then McCaffrey. All right, that's how I think it's going to go. And this is a PPR league in most leagues this season. And I took Travis Kelce at 4 because, again, I want to see what I end up with wide receiver-wise, what I end up with running back-wise if I take a quarterback and a tight end early, which goes against conventional wisdom. All right, so then round 2. Round 2, I was going to go the quarterback. Like if Mahomes was taken, then I was going to take Hurts or Allen. But if none of those 3 guys were taken, then I was going to look at wide receiver. And from when I picked Kelce, the receivers that went off the board, Tyreek Hill went off the board, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams. So for me in round 2, still on the board was CeeDee Lamb, believe it or not. So CeeDee Lamb was sitting there in the late 2nd round for me, as was Garrett Wilson, as was Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, I didn't think any of those guys were going to be there. Derrick Henry went before them, which I was a little surprised about. But I took CeeDee Lamb. So CeeDee Lamb dropped, and I took him in the 2nd round. So that being said, now I have my stud wideout. I have the best tight end in football. Now I wanted to go the quarterback. So Pat Mahomes was taken at the beginning of the 3rd round. So he was the first quarterback off the board. And then I had to decide, do I want Jalen Hurts? Do I want Josh Allen? Honestly, it was a flip of a coin. I went with Jalen Hurts just to see how this would shake out. Leaving myself the option of possibly taking Devontae Smith as a stack if it came to it in the 4th round. But that wasn't going to happen either, as Smith would go off the board in the 4th. So started with Kelce, started with CeeDee Lamb, started with Jalen Hurts. That's a really, really good starting threesome, right? So now I need running backs, okay? And typically round 4 and 5, this used to be the start of the running back dead zone. And I've been saying all along, the running back dead zone to me is no longer a thing. Receivers are dominating now the early portions of the draft, which is allowing running backs to drop further than we ever thought in leagues. So for me, it was a tough choice. So I really wanted to try to get Jahmyr Gibbs. He was taken before I went. So I was looking at Aaron Jones. I was looking at Miles Sanders. I was looking at Dameon Pierce and J.K. Dobbins, all right, in that round 4. The latter part of round 4. I went with Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones has been a slam dunk 4th round pick in almost all leagues. So that's where you're going to have to get him. So I just went with him. Miles Sanders, on the other hand, has been a 5th round guy. So I figured, you know what? Let's just stick with the consensus ADP. I'm going to take Aaron Jones and then hope Miles Sanders was there in the 5th round. Voila, he was. So I took Miles Sanders in round 5. So right now, my starting running backs are Aaron Jones and Miles Sanders. 2 guys that are going to catch a lot of passes, especially Aaron Jones. Miles Sanders is going to be the touchdown guy on the ground. He's going to be used heavily. I really believe that for Carolina. Plus, I got the top tight end. I have the top quarterback on a per points per game basis, and I have CeeDee Lamb, a top 6-7 wide receiver. So I'm really loving this team right now. Now, I really wanted Calvin Ridley. I really wanted Calvin Ridley in round 6. All right, he was taking 2 picks into round 6. I thought about taking him in round 5 because he's been going late 5th, early 6th. I just missed him. I really wanted to get Miles Sanders in round 5, so I just missed him and wasn't loving I got to be honest, I wasn't loving the receivers in round 6, and this is a pick that I made that I really didn't like. I took DJ Moore. I took him over Christian Kirk. I took him over Deontay Johnson. I took him over Brandon Ayuk. I don't love him. I really don't. I was hoping for Tyler Lockett. He was gone as well. Tyler Lockett went 2 picks before me in the 6th round. So again, my whole goal, if you haven't noticed, I'm trying to get these touchdown heavy guys no matter the position. So Ridley's going to be a heavy touchdown guy, and so is Lockett, as he always is. I missed out on both. So I went with DJ Moore, figuring he's the number 1 guy in Chicago. So I have CeeDee Lamb paired with DJ Moore. All right, round 7, I wanted to get another running back for my flex spot, and Rachaad White was there. I'm very happy with Rachaad White in the 7th round. He's going to catch 50 passes, no doubt about it, and there's no competition. Chase Edmonds, who's really nothing but a washed-up 3rd round back, if that, Rachaad White's going to be used heavily in this Tampa offense that's going to have Baker Mayfield, who likes to check it down a lot to his running backs. So I ended up with Rachaad White. So I have Aaron Jones, Rachaad White, and Miles Sanders, okay? All 3 guys can catch passes. All 3 guys can be the main runners on their team. All right, round 8. All about stacking running backs and wide receivers. I took Marquise Brown. I think I wanted Jerry Jeudy. He went early in the 8th round. Mike Williams was also gone. So Marquise Brown, who I think is severely underrated in drafts. Kyle Murray, let's say he comes back in week 5. You saw how good Marquise Brown performed with Murray as his number 1 target last season. So Marquise Brown in the 8th round, I'm pretty good with, as my third wide receiver. Now, let me rephrase that. I'm not thrilled that he's my 3rd wideout. I really wanted him as my 4th wideout, but that's how it ended up. Round 9, I took Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was there. Drake London and Christian Watson were taken right before I took Godwin. So Christian Watson fell a little bit further than I thought. But Chris Godwin, I took him there, and I was perfectly happy with that. So now I have Chris Godwin as a decent fill-in. I'm not, I've been a big fan of Godwin over the years, but the quarterback situation in Tampa Bay, I'm not loving, especially with Rachaad White. I didn't really think that one through too much. I really didn't want much of this Tampa Bay offense, but I panicked after I had Christian Watson lined up, and he was taken right before me, and they only give you 30 seconds to pick. So I kind of panicked there and went with him. Michael Pittman went after, so did Mike Evans, George Pickens. I wasn't really liking any of them either. All right, round 10, I took DeAndre Swift. All right, so, to pair him with Jalen Hurts, I think DeAndre Swift, he was a top 20 running back, even though the Lions really tried to phase him out last season. He was a part-time guy. I think DeAndre Swift is going to exceed expectations in this Philadelphia offense. He's an explosive athlete. We all know that. There is a cap on how many carries and touches he can get, but I think in round 10 it was a good move. Round 11, I was shocked to see Antonio Gibson there. I took Antonio Gibson. I was loving that pick. I wanted to take Michael Thomas there, but I figured Thomas would slip to round 12. I wanted to take Antonio Gibson, who's going to get a decent amount of work, especially with Eric Bieniemy as a coach. Michael Thomas was taken in round 12. Damn it. So Michael Thomas is almost free. You could get him, take him in round 11 or even round 10 if you have to. This guy still produced when he was on the field last season. I know I'm a sucker for what he did in the past, but Derek Carr is an upgrade at quarterback. I think Michael Thomas is going to be really good when he's on the field in a PPR league, and it's not going to cost a lot to get him. So like Calvin Ridley, like Michael Thomas, you're drafting the talent who can greatly exceed their draft price. Calvin Ridley went in the 5th round. I think he could perform at least like a low-end wide receiver, a high-end wide receiver 2, maybe a low-end 1. Michael Thomas, you're drafting him as a bench wideout who could easily be a wide receiver 3. So take him in round 11. I should have done that. So round 12, I took Jackson Smith and Jigba. The reason why, round 13, I took my backup quarterback, Geno Smith, the QB5 last season, lasted until round 13. Nobody likes him in the fantasy community this season. I know that there's a lot of bad memories with Geno Smith, but man, he was good last year. He was very durable, ran for over 300 yards. So in round 13 is my backup. If Jalen Hurts goes down, I'm good with that. And then finally, to finish it out, I took New England's defense in round 14 and Jake Moody, San Francisco 49ers kicker, in round 15. Actually, I didn't make those last 2 picks because I jumped off. I could care less about the defense. So just to rehash, took Kelce number 1, CeeDee Lamb number 2 in the 2nd round. So an ace wideout, and Jalen Hurts is my quarterback. That's a tremendous top 3. I don't think anybody could top that top 3 right out of the gate at those 3 different positions. Aaron Jones, Miles Sanders, Rachaad White, DeAndre Swift, and Antonio Gibson are all my running backs. My receivers, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore, Marquise Brown, Chris Godwin, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. That's the one part of this team I don't love. I love my wide receiver 1, but I don't love the wide receiver 2, DJ Moore. Marquise Brown, I'm fine with a 3, although I prefer him to be a 4, and I should not have taken Godwin because I had Rachaad White. But so, I mean, what do you think about that? Do we even entertain the notion of going tight end, quarterback in the first, 2 of the first 3 picks? I got to admit, I really like this team. I do. I think there's very good depth on this team. Like I said, receiver could be a little stronger, but I think it's a decent team. If you could guarantee yourself the top tight end and the top quarterback, you're guaranteeing yourself the top player at 2 different positions. So, you know what? That's nothing to sneeze at. That's a pretty good combination right there, if you ask me. So, is it something I'm going to do in a draft? I'm not sure. I don't think so. But I'm starting to toy around with that idea a little bit more. And that's because if I don't get Jefferson and Chase, the only other first-round guy that's going to make me excited is Travis Kelce. If I'm at the end of round 1, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, beginning of round 2, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, I'm pretty pumped if I can get 2 of those guys. Garrett Wilson, if I get CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson, I'm pretty stoked about that too. But if I'm in the middle, like the dead middle of the round, and I got to go with, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, whatever, I'm not Tyreek Hill. I'm not excited for any of those picks. I'm just not. So I don't love it. Okay, I just don't love any of those. So I want to be either in the beginning in the top 4 picks, or I want to be 11 or 12. That's where I end up. I haven't, done a drawing yet for my draft spot, but that's where I want to be. And so that gets me to the next topic I wanted to talk about. How do you guys draw or come up with your draft order? This is a controversial thing every year. So I'm the commissioner and actually both of my leagues, believe it or not. I'm the commissioner, and it's like the most thankless job in the world. All right, it sucks being a commissioner, but you got to collect the money. People bitch about everything. So I'm the commissioner in both of my leagues. So what we've done a million different things in the past. We used to all get together pre-children, pre-marriage, and we would just simply pick a card on the table, mix it up. Everybody picks a card, and that's your draft spot. Once the kids started popping out and the wives started percolating all the various league members, then getting together became more and more difficult. I'm sure the older people that play fantasy football totally understand this. It's just hard to get 12 guys who have kids and wives on the same wavelength in terms of the draft. So virtual drafts are becoming more of a thing, at least for me. In my leagues, we will not do an online draft like through Yahoo or CBS because it just completely sucks. We don't want timers or anything like that. None of that. We don't want people getting booted off. So we try to either do virtual or in person. But how do you guys draw the draft order? Last year we did that 100-yard dash, which is fun, but you got to get everybody, you got to email everybody, and then they're like, oh, I wasn't able to watch it. Is this legit? You always have a doubting Thomas. There's always that one guy in every league who has to question everything. And then there was an interesting idea that, assign golfers, right? Unknown golfers for a given golf tournament, and how they finish is what the draft order is. The problem with that is that a lot of, you get 10 to 15 golfers who will be 4 under par, and then how do you break that tie? So that becomes more of a headache. Then you could do NASCAR. You could take like an off, not the supreme NASCAR level, but like a lesser NASCAR circuit, the Xfinity, whatever it is. I'm not a NASCAR guy. One of the lesser tracks, and you just assign guys there. But what if somebody knows something and they pick a guy that nobody else knows about and he finishes higher? So there's really no good answer to this. You could do the online test, the what's that thing called? The Wonderlic test. I actually took that, by the way. I actually did pretty well, and it's hard. Like if anybody did the Wonderlic test, it's not easy. You got to do. I think you got like 12 minutes or 10 minutes to answer as many questions as you can. It's not easy. I think I got like the same score as Tom Brady, and Brady did okay. So I was pretty proud of myself, but I was not like, Eli Manning territory. Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think, got like a perfect score, the Harvard guy. So, I'm not like that. But, this is always a thing. Like, how do you do the draft order? So what I'm doing this year, and I did last year in one of my leagues, is my work league, the guy with the most seniority, which, we have a couple of guys who actually retired. I FaceTime with him first, or her, and I mix up cards online while they're looking at it, and then I tell them to flip over a card. Just pick one, tell me which one to flip over, and that's their spot. And then I go on to the next highest guy on the seniority chain at the the place you work at, and do it that way. And that seems to be the one thing that people are the most happy with. Nobody's going to argue with seniority in your office, right? I'm in the education field, so nobody's really hopefully going to bitch about something like that, and for me as a commissioner, I just take the last card. So, while I have more seniority than a lot of the people in the league, as a commissioner, I'm just going to take the last card so that there's no possible accusations of anything, untoward or whatnot. So, that's how I do it. So I was always curious about that. How you guys come up with your league draft order. All right, I'm just coming across. So rookie tight ends on 25 targeted 25% of their routes, 25% plus. Jimmy Graham, Jordan Reed, and Chig Okonkwo. So that's pretty good company. I just came across that stat on Twitter. And what is this shit with the X now on Twitter? Like, what did they change it? I mean, I'm kind of out of the loop, in terms of the news. I try to stay out of the regular news. The only thing I care about is fantasy football news. The regular news is just nothing but depressing and political crap. But I also did see that Jordan Addison was going 140 miles per hour in a 55 miles an hour zone. Excuse me, I can't talk. Because of a medical emergency regarding his dog. I'm just reading this for the first time. So according to the citation, his dog had a medical emergency. All right, so you know what? We could forgive that. And I guess that's one of those things, like a knee-jerk reaction. Maybe we should wait to find out what the deal was before we all jump to conclusions. And I was guilty of that too. I kind of killed Jordan Addison on the podcast the other day. So hopefully his dog is okay, and we'll give him a pass on that. So, listen, you're not going to be faulting a guy for trying to get his dog to get some medical help if he needs it. Also today, so Chauncey Gardner-Johnson of the Lions went down with a non-contact injury. It looks like he's going to be okay. So that's good. The cornerback that from a fantasy perspective, if he went down, the Lions would probably be in more shootouts. But that's neither here nor there. Well, we just wish the guy well, and he's not hurt. So Josh Jacobs, he was boarding a flight leaving Las Vegas. The running back doesn't plan to return anytime soon, according to Tom Pelissero. Listen, this is no surprise. I mean, Josh Jacobs, even more than Saquon Barkley, really has more incentive to not play because the Raiders are going to suck. I feel like Jacobs knows they're kind of just running him into the ground. And honestly, that's what I thought they were doing last year with that same amount of 340 carries, whatever it is. I thought they were really just running him into the ground. They were just going to cut him loose and not re-sign him or not tag him or whatever. And that didn't happen. So he's not stupid. He's got to know that. And the Raiders really didn't apparently try very hard to sign him. Whereas the Giants engaged in dialogue with Saquon Barkley for quite a while, and Barkley just turned him down. Again, $22 million. I don't know where Saquon Barkley thinks he's going to get that $22 million from. He's going to get 10 this year. If he sits out and misses this season, where is he making up that money from? He's just not. So, and if he gets tagged next season, I mean, it's tough. That's just how it is. You had an opportunity to get a guaranteed deal for a couple of years at $22 million guaranteed, and you gave that up. So you got to play on this tag at $10.1 million. If you blow out your knee, you're getting nothing next year. So Barkley could have cost himself, $12 million. I get it. He's wounded. His pride is wounded. He's angry. I totally get it. And Austin Eckler made a really good point when he was tweeting out the other day that running back is the only position in football where you could have a career year and not get rewarded for it. The team hierarchy will then just say, you know what, he's going to wear down. All right, he's going to get hurt. And certainly there is a precedent for that. Okay, Josh Jacobs, 340 carries. Most likely he's going to see those numbers decline. He's going to get hurt. Derrick Henry crossed that 370 touch threshold a couple of years ago, and he got hurt the following season. Broke his foot. So, listen, that is the nature of the beast, of the position. That is how it is. There's just no other way around it. And believe me, I like Saquon Barkley a lot. I really do. I actually met him attending Giants training camp. He's just the nicest guy you're ever going to meet. He signs for everybody. He's a good guy. He's no issue with reputation, does the right thing. But he made a bad call here. He made a very bad call. And if he misses games to start the season, he's going to compound that bad call. Okay? It's just going to blow up in his face. He's going to damage his reputation. He's going to damage the team. And the Giants are going places. They're not in Philadelphia's league, but Philadelphia got decimated in free agency. They have new offensive and defensive coordinators. Okay? I still think Dallas is slightly better than the Giants, but not as much as you might think. That offensive line is aging. Tyron Smith can't stay healthy. All right? Now, I do like some of the moves they made during the offseason. I brought in Stephon Gilmore. They still have Micah Parsons. They got Brandon Cooks. They did some good things, but that offensive line's a problem. And Dak Prescott threw a lot of interceptions next season, and it's now going to be a run-heavy offense, which I'm not liking. That's why CeeDee Lamb, I'm happy I got him in the second round in that mock draft I did, but I don't jump for joy about CeeDee Lamb. I'm more excited about Garrett Wilson. But you can't take Garrett Wilson ahead of CeeDee Lamb. You just can't. But I'm more excited about the upside of Garrett Wilson than I am CeeDee Lamb. But getting back again to the Giants, it's a problem. And listen, if he holds out into the season, I think this kid out of Oklahoma has a lot of potential. He caught the ball really well. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. All right, that's a name that you're going to have to stow away. Hell, I would even maybe use a labor. James Robinson's not going to be a thing. I really don't. I think he's just a body for training camp. They're probably going to cut him loose. I think he's done. Bill Belichick cut him. The Jets had no use for him, even after trading for him. I think the Jets, they traded for him, and they realized, this guy's got nothing left. And I think Belichick realized the same thing, and that's why he cut him loose. After giving him a 2-year deal, non-guaranteed, but a 2-year deal. So I don't think that James Robinson has any fantasy value. But it's worth looking into this kid Gray from Oklahoma. To see if we do get a situation where Saquon Barkley does not start the season on time. All right. Just checking the news again. Nothing else going on. All right. So, again, guys, make sure you tune in 5 o'clock Eastern time today for the live stream. Come with your questions. All right. Ask me questions. Take this opportunity. I'll be answering as many questions as I could. The chat's not going to be busy because I posted this late, so it's not going to get out. There shouldn't be a lot of people in the chat. And if there is a lot of people in the chat, I don't see your question, just keep asking it or just use the super chat. And that way it'll highlight. Of course, I never ask for any donations, but any donation is totally appreciated. And it does help out with the channel. I've gotten some PayPals over the last couple of days. Kineski at AOL.com is the PayPal. So that really is helpful too, and I get to keep 95% of the proceeds. So PayPal donations, which the link for my PayPal is on the channel homepage. So again, never expected, but definitely appreciated. And yeah, hit the subscribe button if you can. Like this video so it get indexed, so it does get indexed well on YouTube. And yeah, that's it. So I'll see all you guys at 5 Eastern time. I'll see you later.